Welcome back to the Real Marc Bagwell, a wrestling docuseries. Marc, great to have you back, man. Marc, you there?
It's great to be here.
Thanks, buddy. You're looking best shape, man. I love the NWO necklace you got on there. You got your wristbands. You look like you're ready to go wrestle.
I'll do it all, bro. It's me. It's me.
Pull him away. That's not him. Come on. I think that's a doll.
Yo, yo, yo.
Who do we have here on the Marc Bagwell series? Looks to me like Mr. Jerry Hood.
What's up, bro?
You know, for the folks that have heard the name, but not sure, this is Marc Bagwell's first cousin, correct?
That's correct.
You are cousins how?
Our moms are sisters, practically twins. And you've seen the photographs, they look identical. They're a year and a half apart. And if you heard them talk, it's unbelievable. They're almost identical.
I've seen a lot of pictures, and you and Marc have both asked me if I can identify who is whom, and I always get it wrong. They literally look like twins. And I gotta tell you, man, when I close my eyes and you talk, I almost hear Marc talking.
That's it's been like that for, I guess, growing up. The older we got, he started looking better. I started looking older. So, you know, the look wasn't there. But as far as back on our moms, I posted one of those photographs on Facebook. Got about 150 hits. They knew exactly who it was. I said $1,000 goes to the first person that can name these two people. And they were like, whoa, bro, it's easy. That's Buff and his mother. And on and on, to the point that they knew it was Judy. But they kept saying, well, we got the Judy part right. Okay, you're right. It's not Buff. It's Marcus Alexander Bagwell. And I said, you're cold, you're cold, you're cold. And finally, one person got it correct. And I said, well, I can't give you $1,000, but I'll buy you any purse you want. And she was thrilled about it. Super thrilled.
Well, we know Judy from back in the day. Unfortunately, she's no longer with us, but she was seen on wrestling TV before. And Judy's sister, your mom's name is?
Martha.
Martha.
She was Martha Ann Benson.
So
I'm sorry. We got to scratch that. Martha Sue Benson.
Martha Sue Benson.
Judy Ann Benson is Marc's mother.
So they're sisters. You're practically like brothers. I've seen the pictures of you guys side by side, yourself and Marc. That southern smile, those white pearlies, you can't miss it, that you guys are related.
Yeah, no doubt. Side by side, we've been side by side, thick and thin, growing up together, as you know, and it was a great ride from day one. Never a harsh word spoken between us, never an argument in over 50 years. I mean, it's been fun.
Well, we brought you on, Jerry, as originally one of our questions in the Ask Buff segment on the Chosen Life podcast before we started the Real Marc Bagwell series. And that's how you and I originally came together. And the question I had asked Marc was, a reader wrote in and said, who is Jimmy Claps? And you told me, we didn't know each other yet. I just knew that there was this listener named Jerry Hood. And he said, trust me, ask Marc, who is Jimmy Claps, and watch his reaction. And I asked it on the air, and do you remember his reaction?
He did. He was like, oh, God. Oh, is the writer's name Jerry Hood? And you thought for a minute, and you was like, it is Jerry Hood. And he was like, oh, God, it's hard. Jimmy Claps. And he got about 90% of it right, explaining it. And it was tough. And it was an old friend that we knew from Alabama that was a fan of his and a friend of mine that we used to go out. Of course, I was the designated driver for the two. Both of them working out every day, looking good. I'm driving in Buff's G everywhere. They're in the back, music playing loud. And this guy was, like Marc said, a little too cool for school, and he knew it. He was like, it didn't matter. He, moody, knew he looked good, just a little too cool. And that didn't go well with Marc. But somehow or another, they meshed, and it was a great friendship. And we've been friends for, gosh, the better part of 30 years. And unfortunately, he has sort of semi-fallen off the face of the earth. We can't get in touch with him. And I've asked people through friends, blah, blah, blah. And we just can't find him. I try to get in touch. His brother lives in Orlando. And Jimmy Claps, his real name is Gary Abbott. So somebody's probably going to see that knows us, that knows me, blah, 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 or knows him. And they're probably going to say, you're not going to believe this. Your friend's from Atlanta. Oh my God, from back in the 80s, 90s. And I'd love to hear from him. I know Marc would as well.
He was in the Georgia area?
No, he lived in, Marc had said in one of the previous casts, he said that he thought it was Gadsden, but it was Oxford, Alabama / he's really close to Anniston, Alabama, which is just a few miles over the state line on over the interstate. So
all our Alabamian fans out there listening need to find him. So we find him, please let us know. But I got to tell you,
hey, we're easy. We're easy to find.
I got to tell you, when you first connected with me online after we had aired the first episode of The Chosen Life with Marcus Buff Bagwell at the time, and you're writing to me who you were, my first reaction was, this guy's a spammer for sure. There's no chance this guy is Marc's first cousin. He's totally putting me on here. And the first thing I said to you was, send me some pictures. Show me that you're really who you say you are. And you did.
I kept putting you off, though, and I felt bad about it. I kept putting you off, and it really, I've got 10,000 pictures from 1970 and 1980, which nobody has. Everybody's got them on CDs or discs or what have you, and on their phones. And so here I am digging through pictures in the basement, and I said, I got to get John some pictures. I got to do it. And I kept going. Then I couldn't find some, and I asked my daughter for some, and she didn't know. And then finally, they just all of a sudden started coming one after another. Perfect. And I basically was, for you, I said I can answer any question. If we sound alike, fine. If we look alike, fine. But that still wasn't enough for the chosen one.
No, I had to do my digging because I had to make sure. And even, you know what, Jerry? Right up until the last second when I posted that question, I didn't know for certain if this was for real. And when Marc's eyes lit up and he said Jerry Hood, I'm like, oh boy, that is Jerry. Yes.
And so you were like, so y'all are truly related. You're like, oh yeah, oh God, yeah. But by far, I guess as close as you want to be as far as a cousin, but we were raised together, in Marietta, together all the weekends from the time we were 3 or 4 years old till the time we had a period there, I guess, during high school where he was busy with sports and everything, and I'm busy with school and, the whole song and dance. And I guess pretty much after that, we took some time apart, and when we got back a little bit older, say late 80s, early 90s, right, pre-wrestling years, we lived together for a long period of time, off and on, going out to all the wrestling matches early on, at skating rinks or school gymnasiums, or, early on to where you're like, he's making $100 a night or $200 a weekend, or it cost us more in food and gas, he and I traveling to South Carolina or Alabama or Tennessee, than he would net, he'd be in the negative. And but growing up is phenomenal. Great person. There wasn't a thing I couldn't ask him that he wouldn't do. It didn't matter. Even in the Buff Bagwell days, if I said, hey, we got to go buy us a Corvette, and you're a Corvette fan yourself, so you know how important that is. And
There's
We're
needs
going
and
to
there's
buy,
wants in life. Yes.
yeah, yeah. And so we'd go buy Corvettes. So we would buy, it didn't matter. It whatever. And a great person, great fun. And he's a friend of yours, and unbelievable growing up. It was a world that he called, it was Nintendo world, and that's where we lived, and it was a blast.
It blows my mind the more I've got to know Marc over the past few months and the amount of interactions I've had with him off the air. And he is one of the most misunderstood people on the face of the earth. If you went and read the headlines, you'd have one image of him, depending on what you've read, obviously. And you get to meet the guy. And we touched upon this as part of why we started the series as the Real Marc Bagwell. It's truly for people to truly understand. Ignore the headlines, ignore what you think get to know the person for the person. And he's one of the most gentle, giving souls I've ever seen. So polite, a pure gentleman, pure pleasure to deal with. He's always very concerned about others and their well-being. Was he always this way from a young age?
From the start to finish. If you knew him, the close friends, the family, very confident guy. And so sometimes that very well may not go over too well. But it didn't matter. Once the fame, the fortune came, everybody, if you're in the limelight somewhere, some way, it's not going to be you're in between. He's a great guy, or I like him a little bit, or it's that you hate him or you don't. It's not, so of course, you put all that together with the confidence. Super rich family growing up, very fortunate. Of course, our families own the hardware companies, the sheetrock businesses, and of course having that in Marietta and a little bit of power in Cobb County. It's just I don't know. Sometimes it could be jealousy. Sometimes it could. I don't like them, and then of course, but there's fewer of those than they are the ones that did. The friends, the true friends, the families, the ones that stuck by his side rather. And we didn't regret a minute of it. From the hardware days, the store, growing up, to pretty much after high school, living together, traveling together. And I traveled a lot. I'm 4 years older than he is. I'm sorry, 4 years. And I just had a birthday, so he's. I'm getting old now, but he traveled a lot with him. Didn't matter where it was. I was ready to go. I was sitting on go until I was informed I didn't have a kitchen pass anymore. And then I didn't travel as much anymore. But no, as far as family, having kids, settling down, getting married, it was time for me to, move on. Plus my job, it was tough, but I still made it work.
Well, I got to ask you. Yeah, I was going to ask you because your age difference, as far as you were not necessarily in the same place in life always, because even that 4-year age gap can make a difference, when you're in school and when you're getting through in life, obviously. But you've known him his whole life.
Whole life. Never lost contact. It didn't matter where he lived, where I lived. It was always in the metropolitan, area here in Atlanta. But never ever would go. I mean, weekly, daily, monthly. It was always something, going out to dinner. Usually his treat. If you made the mistake and said, "Hey, my treat today," it's a little bit more than you bargained for. It was, stuff that, like, "Hey, let's stop by Wendy's." He's a big eater. And you remember the Wendy's?
I remember you told me the Wendy's story. Please, you got to tell people how old was Marc roughly at this point, and then how much he put away at Wendy's in one sitting.
Wow. We were on the way to a town, I believe, Bluffton, South Carolina, which is a pretty good hike from Atlanta. Driving. At this point, we're driving to wherever they're having the matches. And he is, this is going to be probably 1990. So he's going to be 20 years old. Just starting out, freshly trained by Steve the Brawler Lawler. We're traveling happy in like a 1989 Daihatsu, Google that, 3-door hatchback. I'm over 200 pounds. He's over 200 pounds. The car barely will move with us in it. That's how small it was. The good thing was the air condition worked, which he's got to have that going 24/7. Got to have it cool.
He does not like a hot room. He's made that
Does
very
not.
clear.
So I'm driving, and he's like, Jimmy, we got to eat. And that was what he always called me because of the Jimmy Claps thing, goes back, da, 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 da. And I called him Jimmy, and nobody ever understood it. No matter where we went, they were like, it's called you Jimmy, and you called him. What was it? And anybody that knows us knew that, and it stuck, and that's what we did. But I said, hey, you always buy dinner. I'm buying dinner tonight. So we accidentally pull into a Wendy's off the interstate. He got like 13 chicken sandwiches and 3 baked potatoes. And now I'm sort of regretting I'm buying part. But no, it wasn't that many. I would say 4 chicken sandwiches, 2 baked potatoes, a Frosty, a double cheese, and a 6-piece nugget. And I look over at him and I'm like, bro, oh, no, bro, it's okay. I got to eat. I got to get protein before I wrestle. I got to have this. I just did a workout. I got to eat that. I said, okay. So I got a chicken sandwich and a drink. And the bill was like $40-something. You could buy gas back then for about 89 cents a gallon. So it was 10-gallon tanks. So that only cost $9 to fill it up. We spent 4 times that amount on food. We get to South Carolina. He's starving again. Luckily, they had a spread when we got there, so he was able to eat. He gets paid. We drive home. He's ready to eat again, and I do not volunteer to buy. We use his money that he got paid with, another $40, $50, get a little bit more gas. By the time we get home, we have about $9 in our pocket. And so back in that day, I mean, times were tough. And as far as in the wrestling world, and I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute, the next weekend we're going where? Oh, we're going to Louisiana. It's not that far. It's not that far, bro. It's not. And I'm like, oh, no. So but that was, man, those days were the only wrestlers I remember. And he introduced me to there's probably not one you can't name that he didn't introduce me to, from the Omni, the Georgia Dome. But back in those days, the big wrestlers were Scotty the Body, which is Raven from WCW. Abdul the Butcher was there. And the bad boy, Billy Black. And these guys, it was great, man. It was a show like no other. I mean, fundraisers for high school teams, marching bands, charities. It was tough. How he kept the focus. It's unbelievable.
Well, I got to ask you, before you became a professional wrestler and growing up, firstly, at what point in his life did you say to yourself, we got something special here? You know what? He's a lot different than everybody else, and he's really going to rise to the top. When did you first get that inkling that he was destined for greatness?
Wow. What year did I say he was born?
You tell me.
1970.
He's 4 years younger than you. 1970.
Right. So 1970. I shouldn't have told everybody what year I was born. They would have thought I was 40-something years old and I messed up and already did it. But I'm good with that.
As long as you think that, that's fine.
That's good. So he's born in 70. About 1975, we were like, oh, baby, we got a good one here. So he was, from the time he was 4 or 5 years old, with his brothers, which I'm very close to both of them. They're older brothers, John and Steve, as you know. And 5 years old by far, from an athlete playing baseball to football. It didn't matter. Boxing. He was a special kid.
At 5 years old, you saw this. So it's just unbelievable when you think about mind-boggling. Like, you hear about high school prodigies. Now we're talking about kindergarten prodigies. But early on in his life, as he's going through grade school, for example, going into high school, what was your image for Marc Bagwell? Where did you think he was going to end up ultimately as a profession? What did you see him doing in life?
I didn't know at that point, let's say early 80s is when I think his first year of high school would have been probably 84, 83, 84. He would have been a freshman, I'm pretty sure. At that point in time, I believed he was either going to play college baseball or either take one of the family businesses or something. We just didn't know. We didn't know from that point on if they were going to, keep the family business open. Like you said, Home Depot and Lowe's came in, and it was tough for the small guy,
Right.
to stay afloat. So we really didn't know. And so after he got 4 years of high school under his belt, decided he really wasn't going to play college sports. At that point, I didn't know. And of course I'm really not sure I may do this, but then he had a few ideas and ended up going to, college to become a masseuse, and which would have been, perfect. Work his own hours, you can make as much money as you want there.
I did not know that. That's a new
Yes.
one.
And
Okay.
that was
Marc Bagwell, the masseuse.
Wow, I believe that was at DeKalb College down on the east side of Atlanta.
Okay.
And so that was, I think that went on for a little while, and he's married at the time, and moves into an apartment complex over a little bit north of Marietta, about 10 miles north, to a little town called Kennesaw. And goes in there, of course, gets an apartment, and ends up meeting Misty Hyatt, which I think you know the story.
She might be Misty, but it's Misty Hyatt, yes.
Missy Hyatt.
Misty Hyatt, yes.
Did I say Misty?
You said Misty, yes.
Oh man, my apologies.
Sorry, Miss Hyatt. Sorry,
Miss
Hyatt.
I know Missy well, and I don't want to get that wrong.
I don't know Missy well, and I'm not going to get it wrong either. So let's go for it.
No. But at that point in time, I guess they were there. He was trying to sign a lease. She sees him. Gets the apartment across the hall from her. And I think from there, she was like, "Hey, you got I've got something you need to try." And of course, that's the whole hookup there, the wrestling, and he introduces his wife to her, and that everything was great from there. And basically, the money to train, I think, was for wrestling school. I think it was $5,000 at that point in time, with his parents selling the business and us closing doors or what have you. The $5,000, he's like, what do we do? What are we gonna, and from there, I guess he goes in with Steve the Brawler Lawler and trains. And I think the first week, maybe the first day, and God, I'm so old. It's the memory it goes, bro.
That's
You're
okay.
only 30 years old.
You have weeks. You have weeks and months to think of the stories, Jerry. Over time, we've been doing this. We're going to be doing this for a long time. So
yeah,
don't worry, man. The memories will come back.
Yeah, I think the first week he came home to his wife and said, "I'm done. I'm done, bro. I'm not going back." And you're talking a pretty tough guy. You want to wrestle, you want to box, you want to go jog 5 miles. He didn't care. But to be what you have, how physically fit you have to be to train to do that. If you went, or if anyone went and watched, not a week, not a day, go for a month, and the word fake, oh, wrestling's fake, you'll drop that from your vocabulary, period. And I would, back when I was watching in the early years, the training, I would, if he got knocked down or thrown out of a ring, I just pretend like I didn't see him. I was like, "Oh man, I didn't see. Is he all right? Is he going to get up? Is he, but he stuck with it thick and thin, not a quitter, never has been, never will be."